Welcome to Wiring Methods Lab number 12. We're going to be working on the drawings for Lab 12 today. So today's lab is, we're continuing what we did in the last lab. We're taking multiple circuits and we're combining them together the way that they would be in a real residential home. So we're going to have a 3-gang box with 3 switches. 2 of those switches will be fed from one home run. One of those switches will be fed from another home run. I can imagine this situation being, in a living room that's leading to the outside door. You walk in the house, you've got a switch box there that can turn on the lights in the room. There's also a switch there that can turn on the lights outside of the house. And so that circuit that's running outside the house, it may be that it's fed from another circuit, and that the switch that you have is just a switch there to turn it on and off. And so that's going to be the circuit that we do today. We're going to just continue practicing putting together these circuits that we've already learned in new and exciting ways. That's going to be kind of the theme from here on out, is taking what we've learned and putting those things together so that we can build off of what we've learned. All right, so our circuit here, we have, get my laser pointer up, we have a home run with a light coming in to a switch. We have a second home run with a 3-way switch that is feeding a 4-way and a 3-way to a light. And then it is also feeding a single pole switch feeding a light. And so all 3 of these boxes are in one box. And so that's what we'll have to work on today. We're going to have a light with a switch leg dropping down, and then we're going to have our other circuit that has 2 lights on it. Let me erase my little red mark there. All right, so when we're taking a look at this, let's take a look at what all cables are going to be pulled into this. Right, I'm going to have a cable that is my home run for this circuit. I'm going to have a cable that is my home run for this circuit. And then I'm going to have a cable coming down to this switch. I'm going to have a cable coming from this switch to this switch, right? This is a 3-way feeding a 4-way. And then we're going to have a 4-way feeding a 3-way. Then we're going to have a 3-way feeding this light. And what does that leave us? It leaves us this switch here in the middle, which is going to feed over to this light here. All right, so these are all the things that we have to get fed. Right? And so when I come to one of these circuits, I'm going to, this is a kind of complicated one. I might draw this one on the back of a napkin to make sure that I'm getting all the things to where they need to go. And so when I come to this box, when I come to this first box here, I'm gonna wire this in a certain way so that I keep track of everything that's going on here. Right? When I've got all my wires stripped back, I'm gonna take the two wires that are over here. I'm gonna kind of keep those separated, right? Because I know that's a separate circuit. I've got my home run that comes in here, right? I've got the 2 runs here. The first thing I'm going to do in this box, I'm going to take all of my grounds, and I'm going to take all of my grounding wires, and I'm going to tie all of those together and shove those back in the back of the box. Other than the 3 little pigtails that I'm going to have come out, I'm going to need a pigtail going to each one of my switches. The rest of that I'm shoving in the back of the box. That's the first thing that I'm going to take care of. Then I'm going to figure out neutrals, right? Because I need to know where are all my neutrals going, because I know that none of them are going to switches. None of them are getting broken, right? So what am I going to do with my neutrals? Well, so my first neutral is in this circuit here, and it is going to tie directly to that light, right? We're not breaking the neutral, So my first neutral is right there. Now I have a white wire coming down here, and in most of the other circuits that we've done, we have tied this into the white wire so that we have a neutral in our box. Right, we're required to have a neutral in most boxes. However, on this particular circuit, we already have a neutral in the box. So this white wire is eventually going to get redesignated because we're not going to have to run a separate neutral for just this one switch. We already have a neutral over here. So I've got my neutral coming in from this home run. It's going to need to tie in with a wire nut to go out to this switch, or out to this light, right? And I'm going to need another one tied in here, which is going off to this circuit, right? So in this box, those are the things that I've done first, right? The first thing was tying all my grounding wires together in the back and attaching those to those pigtails to each of my 3 switches. Now I have dealt with my neutral, right? My neutral is now feeding everything that it needs to feed. So now I'm looking at my hot wire as it comes in, my black wire, my ungrounded wire. Where does it need to go? Okay, so I know that it doesn't need to go over here at all. Right? That this is going to have its own feed. In fact, that's probably going to be the first thing that I tackle after I've dealt with my neutrals. Is let's go ahead and get this tackled over here so that is dealt with and out of the way. I don't have to worry about it. So I've got my black wire coming down and my white wire coming down. If I'm going to feed a switch leg with a re-identified white wire, I want for that to be the thing that always has power. Oops, that was not what I meant to do. We have our black wire here. I'm going to, if I'm going to tie a white wire in to have power on it, I want it to always have power. So I'm not going to tie it in as the switch leg coming back up so that it only has power sometimes. So I've tied it to my black wire and I am marking it with a Sharpie or black tape. Permanently marked is what the code book says. I don't necessarily consider black tape to be permanent, but the code book says that black tape will work. And so here on the other end, I'm taking that, while I'm in this box, right? This that I've done up here in the light is probably going to wait. I'm going to handle everything in the box that I could handle. If that means I had to draw it out first, I don't want to be bouncing back and forth across the room. So back inside of our box here, I'm tying that white wire to my switch, and I'm re-identifying it as a current carrying conductor. I'm re-identifying it with some black tape, black marker. And then I'm tying on my black wire that it's eventually going to go up to that. It's going to get tied in up at that light here at the top. Now my black wire over here, my hot wire coming in from my other home run. Well, I'm going to tie 2 pigtails off of that. One going to this switch, and one going to the common of this 3-way switch. Remember, the common is the one that is painted black. It is the one that does not have a screw across from it to the side. If I'm coming across this way, if I were to pinch this switch, the two that my fingers cover are my travelers. The one that is left is my common screw, and that is where our power comes in or our power leaves. So now I'm connecting those pigtails with a wire nut, and now I have power on both of my switches. And so that leaves me with, I have a power wire leaving this switch on this circuit, which would get tied in here. And I'm going to have a black and a red coming down to my next switch, my 4-way switch. Now, looking at that, that appears to be everything inside of that, box, that main box. That's got everything is attached where it needs to be attached. So now I can move on to the next box in the room, right? I can finish out these switches, and so I have a black wire coming to a traveler, a red wire coming to a traveler, and a neutral wire that is going to get tied on to the neutral wire for the cable that is passing through to the next switch. Then I'm going to have a red wire on one of the opposite travelers coming down, and it's going to attach to my traveler screw. I'm going to have a black that is coming down, and it is going to attach to the traveler screw. Now in this box, my neutral, right, once again, it is not getting touched. It's just passing through up to my light. I have one last screw on this 3-way switch. It is the black screw, which is the common screw. My power always comes in or it leaves on that black screw. So we're going to bring it over and down and follow our cable here. It's going to get tied in to this light. We'll put our wire nuts in, all that leaves, I guess that leaves us with the connection in the ceiling up here in this box. Our power that came back up that switch is going to get tied in right here to our hot wire, our ungrounded connection, our black wire of that light. And so now we have a completed circuit. And this is just several circuits, put together that we're keeping an eye on all at the same time, right? I have this circuit. It is off by itself, doing its own thing. The only connection that this circuit will have to the rest of this box is its grounding wire, right? So if it's got a grounding, it does have a grounding wire. Its grounding wire is going to get attached to the grounding wire from all of our other cables that enter this box. All of those grounding wires are going to get tied together, and then we'll have pigtails that come off to each of our switches. I left those off just because it's a lot. It's a lot to try to keep track of. So that circuit is completely separate other than those grounding wires. And then we have our other circuit here, which contains 2 lights and 4 switches, one of them. And so when you've got something like this, right, if I take a look, I've got my, got to get power to my first single switch here, and we just treat that like it's its own thing. And then I've got my other pigtail that comes over to start my other circuit, and that's just a 3-way and a 4-way. We just did, the lab before last, we did this exact circuit, a 3-way to a 4-way to a 3-way to a light, and that is the exact circuit that we've just done. Only difference is instead of being fed directly from the home run, right up here, it is tied in with a pigtail to another switch. That's the only, and the neutral the same way. We've tied our neutral in to the home run with another neutral that's feeding off to another light. The rest of it is exactly the same. We're feeding in on the common screw. We leave on the 2 travelers. The 2 travelers come to our 4-way. It leaves on the other 2 travelers, enters into the 3-way on the 2 travelers, and then our power comes off of the common screw up to the light switch, up to the lighting fixture, so that whenever one of the switches is flipped, that light comes on, right? That's all there is to it, right? We should be able to if you break this down into its parts, when you pick up this lab board, it's going to look complicated because it's got a lot of parts. But once you actually take the time to look at it, if you separate the wires off to one side or the other, you realize this is I've done all this before, right? I've done it all before. I'm just putting together skills that I have already learned.